Well, hi everyone. I'm John Ritland, back with another double review of two more Netflix original movies that I just saw, Spenser Confidential and Extraction. The first one is an action-adventure comedy that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, has Mark Wahlberg in it as a cop that has to, well, not necessarily clear his name, but try to fight back against a, corrupt system. And then the other one is about Chris Hemsworth trying to get the son of a crime lord out of a foreign country, and things go horribly south. And let's just say with one of these movies, I would have rather extracted my toenails and fingernails with rusty pliers than watch that shit. And if you can't tell which one I'm talking about, that's Extraction. But like any of the movies, the multi-movie reviews that I do, there's going to be spoilers throughout. So let's just start with Extraction. This movie is fucking shit. I hate it. Absolutely hated this movie. Now, this came in not necessarily with a world of hype, but Netflix was hyping it, it was on Twitter. I was like, okay, Chris Hemsworth, the guy that played Thor. This shouldn't be that bad. He's actually a pretty good actor, and actually he's not that bad in it. And neither is the kid that plays the crime lord's son that he's got to rescue, character by the name of Ovi. And there's also a very beautiful woman that is, I've seen her in other movies. And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her name because it's very Hindi. But she has a presence in this movie and, again, is very beautiful, so that obviously helps. And Chris Hemsworth is a pretty good actor, and you know what this is? He's got, he's got a troubled life. He doesn't have a wife. He had a wife. They had a kid. He died. The kid died of lymphoma, and he's on this mission to do this extraction. We then see events in the beginning that where this whole thing's going inevitably south. It's this fight on this bridge. He's getting shot at. He looks like he's almost dead. And then we go 2 days before. He is hired to basically get Ovi, the son of a crime lord, away from some people that have kidnapped him. And then there's all these double crosses and all this stuff. And it turns out, oh wait, the people that were supposed to pay them for extracting didn't do it. They did not do the thing. And now they got to get out of this war-torn city, wonton city. I mean, you know what? A city run by, sentient wontons would have actually been much more interesting. In fact, I demand to see an animated movie that does that because, let's be honest, food coming back to life and hurting us, or food coming to life and hurting us would actually have been more interesting than this. I mean, can you tell? I hated it. To me, this was like the rhythm section, except in the rhythm section, you could kind of see what they were doing. There was no excuse for a movie to be this bad and this boring, aggressively boring. The chase scenes, I guess, were fine, but after a while you get numb to the gunfire, the violence, and all the chase scenes, and half this movie is goddamn chase scenes, which, look, it's a good thing in an action-adventure movie like this that you have this kind of stuff, but it only helps if you make it interesting, and none of this stuff was interesting. You get the bonding between Hemsworth's character, Tyler, named Tyler Rake, and actually he uses a rake to kill somebody at one point, which was kind of funny. I mean, I find stuff like that rather funny, but there's a bonding scene between them. He's not going to leave him behind even though the deal has gone south. And he basically sacrifices himself to save this kid that he barely knows, but that he knows is a good kid, and it's not his fault. His dad is a crime lord, and whatever. And also there's this friend of the dad's that is trying to rescue him that maybe he's doing a double cross, maybe he's not, and then they all get together and hatch this plot to get Ovi out of the city, and okay, then not everybody dies, but Hemsworth's character dies. Oh well, I mean, it only helps. It would help more if he had much of a character to begin with. The sad thing is he's the most fleshed out character there. And then 8 months later, we see, oh, he's in school and everything's good. And then this movie had 14 minutes of end credits. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people worked on this. I'm sure a lot of people put their hard work into it, and there were a lot of extras. This was filmed in Bangladesh. And I can imagine that they had a lot of people that they wanted to thank, and that's great. 14 minutes of end credits. This isn't a Lord of the Rings production. This isn't a Marvel movie. I just don't fucking get. I hated this. I absolutely hated it. Like, nothing was good about this. You knew exactly what was going to happen. Who was going to get double-crossed? And I'm sorry, Hemsworth's character dying didn't matter to me. It's not that I hate the actor at all. I just didn't care about the character. And oh, hooray, the kid got rescued. It didn't help because I didn't care about anybody in this. So fucking F. I mean, I haven't handed out too many F grades lately. But shit, this movie was a painful extraction, the worst kind of painful extraction. So now let's talk about Spenser Confidential. Got Mark Wahlberg in a Peter Berg directed movie, and he's a cop that beats up a fellow cop who was abusing his wife, perhaps, and there's this whole twisty-turny thing about drugs being shipped in and are the cops in on it. And after spending 5 years in prison for said assault, he's trying to put his life back together. He's got a girlfriend, or an ex-girlfriend. Isla Schlezer. I don't even know how to say her name. I'm sorry, I butchered it. I know she's a stand-up comedian. I haven't seen any of her work, but if it's anything like this, I think her stand-up is hopefully going to be better than this. And the comedy doesn't necessarily work. It doesn't. It's a typical Mark Wahlberg movie. Yes, he's disgruntled, but has a particular set of skills. It's not like Liam Neeson in Taken, but he might as well be, because he's able to, just shrug off injuries and get friends and take down this, drug ring that's going on. And all the cops are in on it. They even pretend to be a group of Hispanics that are using machetes to chop up this one cop that, talked to the wrong guy. And then that cop gets killed, and thus sets off this whole damn thing where, obviously this drug ring and everybody's in on it. Bokeem Woodbine's in it, and I like him. He's actually been pretty good and stuff. But this very, very typical movie. It sounds like I hate this, and I actually didn't mind it. But this is not a movie that I'm going to necessarily remember. I'm not going to remember negatively. I'm just not going to remember it positively. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. And there was, of course, the typical at odds people as Sissy and Spenser, who... she's a typical Boston woman in the sense that she's very headstrong, but she does care about who she cares about. She's got this, dog grooming thing. You actually get to see a few adorable dogs at one point. And, typical comedy and stuff like that. One of the guys was in Black Panther, was in this as his, not necessarily right-hand man, but a guy that he befriends that's living with an old man named Henry that's helping Spenser put his life back together. So the comedy isn't necessarily falling flat. It just doesn't really work for me. And this drug ring keeps on rolling until, they somehow manage to get a hold of a van that is transporting the drugs in hollowed out propane tanks. And then the old man Henry gets kidnapped, and they have to get him back. They have to rescue him. And the problem is in Extraction, you felt like everybody, like it was bleak and there was no chance of anybody getting out there and everybody was in danger. In this, it just felt like nobody was in danger. But this one had more of a comedy element to it and was just supposed to be, I guess, kind of fun. But sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And there's this overlying theme of Spenser trying to get a job as a 18-wheeler, a truck driver, semi-truck driver. So maybe he can go to Arizona and live his life and stuff like that. And just have some fun, or maybe go to Florida, just go some goddamn where. He doesn't want to be in Boston anymore because a lot of the cops want him dead because he beat up somebody that, it turns out was actually in on this whole thing that everybody else was in on. So yeah, not necessarily a great movie. And then they hint at a sequel where this guy's being framed for a crime he didn't commit, and he's looking at the TV, and it turns out that, of course, they're going to probably do a sequel, because I imagine this movie will at least get enough buzz that they will do one, and hopefully it's at least a little bit better than this. I'm not too optimistic, but still, it wasn't off C. It gets a C. It was fine. Wasn't great, though. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. So agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.